Good afternoon, everyone. This is Laura with Yes MLS, and I am here to go over map searches in Matrix. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. If you want, please go ahead and type your name and your license number in the chat section. We just do like to keep track of who attended. This class is not available for CEU credit, but again, we just like to know who came. All right, so you should all be seeing my screen, which has the homepage of Matrix. Is anyone not seeing that screen? Okay. So if you have any questions throughout this webinar, please go ahead and type those again in the chat section, and I will try to answer those. Also, I have a coworker also helping me out, so she will try to answer those in the chat box as well if I miss something. So map searches is a really great feature within Matrix. I've always thought it was one of the nicer options that we have in here. So when you run a search, and we'll just go to our regular search residential, you have this option here in the middle. And I'm going to pause here for a second. I just forgot to say, we are recording this webinar, and anytime you want to view any of our recorded webinars that we've done in the past, if you click on your name in the top right corner over here, and then choose help, we've got all of our different help topics, including the Yes MLS webinar videos. And if you click there, we give you all of our topics. And if you click on any of those topics, it'll give you the date and the instructor who held that. So if you want to review this one, it'll be up later this week, or any of the previous ones we've done. They're there under, again, your name and help. And it's over here on the left, Yes MLS webinar videos. All right, so searching by the map, again, is one of the great features that I think Matrix has. We've got our basic criteria that we're used to filling in. However, here in the middle, you've got an option to enter an address, or you can enter a landmark, and it will let you search within a certain distance of that location. So if I enter, for example, 600 Crestview, and notice as I type, right now it gives you a little yellow triangle. It doesn't recognize that address yet. But if I keep typing, and as I go through that address, it's going to give me a drop down with a suggestion of an address. And that is the correct one that I'm looking for. So if I click on that, it includes the rest of that property address, and then changes to, in red, map area selected here above that location that I typed. And so that indicates that it definitely found that address. So if you don't see in red here, map area selected, that means it does not recognize the address that you typed, and it won't be searching by the map. The default is within 0.25 miles. That's a drop-down list, and you can pick any of the distances out of this drop-down list, or you can actually type your own. So if you wanted something that wasn't listed in that drop-down, now you can type your own. So if I wanted 1.5, if I click the drop-down, now that becomes available during this search. So know that you're not stuck with just these limits. You can type your own here. So if I go to the map tab at this point, so I'm looking for active and coming soon in 1.5 miles of 600 Crestview Drive, and I click map, the tab there at the top, it is going to show me those properties that it found. So it found 20 properties within 1.5 miles of this address. And on this screen, once I'm here, I can hover over and shrink or grow that shape, so I have control over it. I can even, if I click on the circle, if I click the red dot, I can pick it up and move it. So if I really didn't want 600 Crestview Drive, you know, I can move it to maybe the center of town here, and it'll adjust that list of results. So this clicking on the center dot lets you do that. It also lets you, when you hover over that dot, delete that shape. I'll get back to exclude in a moment, but that will clear it. All right, let me come back to the criteria tab at the top right. I want to come back in here. Another thing I could use is I could ask for a landmark. So if I clear my address and I type, I want to be with 1.5 miles from Public Square, which is in downtown. It says, did you mean Public Square in Cleveland? Yes, I did. So I can click on that. And now if I go to that map tab, I'm downtown and I've got within 1.5 miles of that address of Public Square. The other feature here is I could say from my location, and I would caution you in using that because that is based on whether your computer has the location feature set up in it. When I clicked on it earlier today, I said, yeah, allow that location access just one time. And it actually found me here at my office. So it put in my browser location and it found me here working at the office. So that works. And yeah, Roman, I'm getting to that. You can change the shapes here, absolutely, but not using it from this screen. You have to do it on the map itself. So let's start fresh, and I will go to 600 Crestview Drive in Bay Village. So it finds that property. I want to be within, we'll do 1 mile. And when I go to that map tab, there's my circle. Now, maybe I don't want the circle. Maybe I want to draw a different shape, and I have those options here at the top. I have a radius, a rectangle, a polygon, and a freehand. If I want, I can hover over the red dot and delete that shape again. But what happens when I do that is now I just lost 600 Crestview Drive. Subdivision, we'll have to try that one, Patty. I'm not sure if it works with subdivision because they're not always identified, so we'll double check that one in a minute. When I erased my circle that was identified at 600 Crestview Drive, I lost the pin there. So I can actually come up here where it says jump to address. It's right below the map tab, jump to address, and I can type there a starting point. And when I do that, and I like doing this here because I like adding that 600 Crestview Drive up here at the top because it puts a hard red pin there. And now that will not go away when I draw or erase shapes. So here, if I wanted the polygon, if I wanted the circle, I can choose that shape, click and hold and drag, and I get my circle. If I don't like it, I can click erase. That's actually an eraser. It looks like a weird shape there, but that little icon is a pencil eraser, and it'll clear the shape. I can choose to draw a box, and I can draw that rectangle. I can also choose to draw a polygon, and this one's the one that people probably have the most trouble with. This one is you have to click and let go and draw a line, and click and let go and draw a line, click and let go, draw, click and let go, draw. So you can get pretty specific. You can run along angled streets and things like that. The trick is to go back to your starting point to end that shape. Once you have this shape drawn, you can hover over any section of the line segments that you drew, and you can push or pull those borders and make it whatever shape you'd like. So again, when you erase it, you can use any of these. This pencil is considered a freehand polygon. So with your mouse, you click and hold and drag, and I just have my mouse held down as I'm moving it around, and you can draw any shape you'd like. That's probably best if you're using a touch screen. It lets you draw those shapes with your finger on the touch screen itself, like a tablet, something like that. So let me click on criteria again. I want to add the area for Bay Village so that we're only looking in Bay Village. And there's my 600 Crestview Drive with the hard pin on there. If I wanted to draw, one person wants to live east of there, and one person wants to live west of there, and I'm drawing a shape so that I can find the sections that intersect of a certain location, I could then hover over that little red dot, either one of them, and say, you know what, show me just the properties that are included that intersect those two shapes. So now, if I make that a little more prominent, everything showing are the properties that are in both of those circles. So that's kind of cool. It'll show you, if you click on the red dot and you have two shapes drawn that overlap, it'll show you those that are in the intersecting shapes. The other feature you have is if I wanted to exclude an area, if I draw a shape, so I can make it oversized, you know, that's Bay Village and then some. I want everything that is west of what's in this box. So I can hover over that dot and say, exclude this shape. So now it's going to turn that shape red and then show me everything else in that other that fits that criteria and not what's in the shape that I drew. So sometimes that's just a shorter way or an easier way to find the properties you're looking for, is to exclude the shape that you drew. I do want to say, you know, I knew where those borders of Bay Village were because I use this market all the time. If I click on these layers, that lets me actually turn on things like a zip code boundary or a city boundary. So again, it's these little stacks of paper. If you hover over it, it says layers. And if I wanted to know the zip code boundaries, now I can turn that on and clearly see where those zip codes start and stop. That works also for things like school districts. And here's one that I always found somewhat interesting, is if I said turn on the unified school district, and I'm going to clear the shape. There's a section over here in Rocky River where it's in the city of Fairview Park, but it goes to Rocky River schools. So if you wanted to look for properties that were for sale that are in the city of Fairview, but go to Rocky River schools, you can turn on those two layers. I did zip code and school district, and I found those properties. I can, you know, outline with my, let's say my polygon, and look in just that market. And I'm just clicking and dragging and clicking and dragging until I get back to the starting point. And again, pencil, the eraser will clear that. Let's get back over to where we started here. So if I am looking at properties for sale on this map, and again, I have 600 Crestview Drive as my pin, and I did that using this search for the property up here at the top. I don't have a shape highlighted. I do want to point out, we do have a layer here under boundaries called MLS layers. And we were able to get a handful of our counties identified with the areas for those counties. So that MLS areas only works for Lorain County, Cuyahoga County, and Geauga County. So we were unable to get any more after these were created. They changed the process and it's quite costly. But especially for Cuyahoga County, because those proved to be a little more challenging, you can now see what is encompassed with areas that are on the east side and on the near west side that are a little more challenging than just regular suburbs with codes identified. So if you're not sure where your property should be entered, that's a really quick, easy way. Type in that address here, turn on the layers here with MLS layers, and you will see, you could zoom in and find out exactly what MLS area should be used for that listing, for that address. All right, another feature that I thought was kind of neat is as you are looking at your results, so maybe we draw a shape here, you're looking at your results, and as you click on them, on those little pins, you get to see a little bit more about the property, gives you the listing number, a little bit about it, it's price, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. You could quickly get to listing or tax data. But what I find helpful is it's got a little checkbox here. So with this address, if I wanted to select this one without going to my list and remembering which property did I click on that I liked, I can check it right here. And now that becomes a selected property. So I have one checked of the 20 that are found in my list of results. And I can continue to do that. If I look at these and go, oh yeah, that's a nice one too, I can check it and I can keep going. If you need to, you can zoom in. If there are several that look to be on top of one another, you can zoom in and try to separate them by getting close enough that they don't overlap any longer. The other feature is you can turn on those that if you just click on them, if you want to just click, I'm sorry, if you click on this icon here at the top, clicking check pins, checks the pins. Originally it's going to be black, but if I click on it and I just click on the pin, it selects it versus having to open it and see the little checkbox and click on it. So that icon, clicking check pins, when it's black, you click on the pin and you see the property and you check it. When it's yellow, you click on the property and it just selects it. So that should be a quick, easy way to navigate through those properties. Another feature that these layers have is we've got something called MLS status here, and that is fairly new. It tells me I have to zoom in a little bit. One of the features it lets you turn on is different statuses. So I did not pick pending or pending expired or leased or sold or withdrawn, but I could check mark solds and I could ask for it to show me pins for those properties that sold in the last year. So if I just pause for a moment, it's going to fill in the different properties that sold in the last year on this map without me having to go back to criteria. Maybe I don't want to see those in my list of results, but I can see a little quick view of that and find out if anything sold near my property within the last year. So that again is layers. And I check sold. Right now we discovered a little issue with 3 months and 6 months not displaying property, but 9 and 12 months appear to be displaying properly. So just know that that has been reported and we're working on it. Okay, so I did check some of those. It says I checked 11. If I go to my list of results, I can see the 11 that I checked. So you can see them highlighted in blue there. And anytime you need to change that shape, you just click the map tab and here you are on that map tab. Now those little red pins that were for sold went away because you do have to be zoomed in to a certain level. So if I come back in here, it tells me I have to zoom in. It can't show me those until I'm zoomed in close enough. If I want to take that off, I just uncheck it and those go away. You do get quite a few other features in here. You can look at some tax data. You can look at distressed properties. It'll put pins where the bank owns or short sales are. You can look for property characteristics. It might be interesting to see owner names or maybe building square footage for those properties. And again, you have to be fairly zoomed in. in order to see that, because it's a lot of little text that it's got to write on those parcel IDs. I want to point out that this really relies on agents and the data that's entered when they enter the listing. So these map pins are identified when a listing gets entered, right? So you enter that listing, you click, if you enter your own, you click the button that says get the latitude, longitude, and it just plots that property. So that's great when it plots it correctly, and everyone will find it as they use these map searches. But I really think that everyone that takes a listing should take a moment and check and make sure that your property is plotting in the right place. So as a list agent, just know that you have the ability to move that pin if it's not in the right place. We especially have problems with new construction and vacant land. A lot of times those will plot maybe in the middle of a street. So if for example, I see Walker Road here, if I had a vacant land and it doesn't have a house number, it might plot it right here in the middle of Walker Road because it doesn't know where to put it. So you as the list agent have to go in and move that pin and fix it. So just very quickly, this is just a little off the searching feature, but if you go into your input tab and you pull up your listing, and you will all have, just like you have managed photos and managed supplements, you will all have mapping geocode short form. And you have an option to say, get the latitude and longitude, and that should plot it in the right place. But your way to prove that and move it if it needs to be is this step number 2, set lat long. So if I click on that, it will take me to the map where I can click on parcels and make sure I'm in the right location. And if it's not in the right location, I can pick that pin up and move it. And if that's the right location, because I've checked it by clicking on the parcel and say, yep, that's right, I can say done and submit the listing, and that will store where I move that parcel, that pin. It'll put it on the right parcel. So I can't stress enough that all of the mapping searches and the mapping information that you do depends on how well that property was mapped. So let's go back and do one more time. We go to area 204. This is just another way to do it. I went to the city, I pulled up all of those properties. Now I want to go back and say, I don't really want all of them. I can use any shape. So you don't even have to start with an address. You can just simply start with criteria and you draw that shape. If these are the properties that are my clients interested in, and perhaps we're going to go look at a handful of these. So again, remember, you can click on the property or you can change it to just check the pins. These are the ones I want to go see this tomorrow. I can go back to my results. The ones I want are checked. Here's a little trick. I don't need these others, right? I only want the ones that I checked. I want to refine this list and narrow it so it's only the listings that I had checked. So I got them from the map. I selected them from the map. I went to my results and I choose refine and narrow. And now I'm looking at just those properties I'm going to go show tomorrow. Now I need to make those appointments. In your drop-down list here, you can ask it to show you the single line appointments report. You'll all have it, single line appointments. And now I can see very quickly, how do I make that appointment? These are all showing service. You might want to click on directions here. So that's across the bottom under actions, directions. And that is going to show you turn by turn how to get to those properties. It started from the west side and it moves east and shows you how to get to those different properties. It gives you what it thinks is the best route. And then you can email that to your customer. You can print it for yourself. It gives you total It gives you estimated distance and time driving, and then gives you the turn by turn. You can even start at a different starting or stopping point. So if you wanted to start at your office, I can add my office. And I'll call this office. You don't have to give it a name there, but you can. And I'll find that stop. So I'm all the way over here. I have to go show these houses. I click directions again. And now I get my turn by turn, total distance and drive time. Again, email or print. And now I have the order that I want to go see those in. And when I go into showing time, down here at the bottom, I can bring all of those properties into showing time and make that report. I do know that showing time does the same thing. It gives you some routing, but if you wanted to see that before you got into showing time, you can do that again through directions after selecting those properties. So with the map, you get a whole bunch of different options on shapes you can draw, on how to select those properties, on using things like overlap. So again, let's take a look at those. Let's start that over because I think it's stuck in a loop there with the properties that I selected. So again, if I draw a shape here, and I draw a shape over here, I can ask it to only show me those that are included in the intersecting boxes. And I do want to mention, you can have many shapes on a map. You are not stuck with just one or two, so you can get as many as you'd like there. You can exclude shapes. So in that box, I also want to exclude what's inside the little box. So you have quite a few options there. And if you need to segment several different places, you can just by clicking the tool here at the top and drawing another shape. And then once you're happy with those, you can go to the results. You can ask it to get driving directions. By clicking directions and use the map in that way. The other piece, just so you know, the other option is when you print these properties, we do have a map. It's called multi-map, and that is going to give you all those pins on a map and then little thumbnails of each of those listings that is shown on the map. So again, that was multi-map in the print menu. It's the last one before those different PDF reports. Okay. This concludes the different mapping searches within Matrix. I'm going to launch a poll. If you could all do me a favor and answer that, I would appreciate it. And does anybody have any final questions? Please feel free to throw those down on the chat section. Just a reminder, the different webinars that we have are located under your name at the top right and the help button. And it's Yes MLS webinar videos. And again, it takes us a little bit of time to get those uploaded to YouTube. So I expect this to be done in the next couple days. To find the properties showing instructions, when you're looking at a list, it's a drop down under the display called single line appointments. I don't need your MLS data, that's fine. It was just if you want to throw it in there, we just like to keep track of who's attending. But the showing instructions, the quick report that we created for everybody is called single line appointments. And if you click on that, it gives you property, is it occupied, and by whom, and then showing instructions, office, and agent, along with their phone number. So that, I love that report. We created that way back in the beginning, and I think that's been a very helpful resource. If you didn't know it was there, you'll find it very helpful. All right. Hey, and if you're interested in more webinars, attending them live, we do post them usually a handful of days before, because we know your schedules are so crazy, and you can't always commit. So we do try to post them just a short time before. So feel free to attend any and all of those, and we don't care how often you come to them, because we know that it's hard to remember all of this stuff. So we're glad to see your attendance in these webinars. Thank you all very much for attending. Stay safe out there. It's getting crazy. And if you don't have anything else, I'll just hang out for another minute or two. Throw your questions in chat. If you don't have anything else, we hope to see you at the next webinar.